Tell me why a pantry full of canned beans needs a demolition notice by Friday 5 p.m. Karen. I'm Maya Thompson, 31. Single mom. Substitute teacher by day. Side hustle baker by night. My son, Eli, is 9. Soft-eyed, neurodivergent, and honest in ways adults forget how to be. We live in a modest ranch on Wren Court, in a coastal subdivision where the HOA newsletter puts clip art seagulls next to the word standards. The place is tidy. Yards measured like buzz cuts. Flags on exact size poles. Shutters painted approved shades of sand. Oyster. And I'm not kidding, hurricane gray. 3 Sundays ago, Eli and I built a little free pantry. It's a simple wooden cabinet on a post with a glass door and a note. Take what you need. Leave what you can. We painted it robin's egg blue because that's the color Eli says feels kind. Stocked it with canned beans, pasta, baby formula, and small bags of rice. We tucked it into the strip by the sidewalk, beside the community mailbox cluster. In our heads, it wasn't radical. Folks were pinched. Groceries felt heavier than usual. We figured neighbors would use it. Maybe add a box of cereal. No big speech. It lasted 48 hours before the sticker showed up. Red vinyl. Bold font. Words like sirens. Unauthorized structure. Remove by Friday, 5 p.m. Daily fines. Signed, Karen Whitaker, HOA President. If you've ever smelled fresh acrylic on a power trip, you know the vibe. She walks like a measuring tape, talks like a memo, and she calls landscaping curation. She also, apparently, hates blue. I peeled the sticker off slowly, 'cause Eli was watching. We'll sort it, I told him, kneeling so we were eye level. We follow the rules. And we teach the rules to be kinder. He squinted up. Does kindness need a permit? Sometimes it does, I said. And I wished it didn't. Receipts. I thought. Always start with paper. I downloaded the covenants and scanned for anything about pantries. Boxes. Structures. Nothing. Only unsightly installations and mailbox cohesion, which sounded like a medical condition. I printed the page where it said the association shall not enforce any rule in a manner inconsistent with municipal code. I underlined it with a green pen. Then I emailed the property manager. Subject temporary community pantry clarification request. I explained the what, the why, the when. I asked for a temporary variance. I CC'd the whole board. I attached a letter from Pastor Reeves of our church, confirming that our pantry was an extension of an already approved food drive. I hit send at 10:46 a.m. Saved a PDF copy of the sent message, and slid a printed version into a bright yellow folder labeled Pantry K. The mailbox dinged back an auto-reply. Your message has been received. Karen didn't. She doesn't do email on Sundays. By Tuesday, fines started multiplying like they were on a breeding program. Non-compliant color. Unauthorized signage. The note that said, take what you need. Obstruction of common area egress. As if pasta escaped in the night. $50 a day for each line item. The totals at the bottom looked like rent. I kept my voice level and wrote again. Please confirm receipt of variance request. Enforcement should be paused pending review. I CC'd our council member's community liaison. just to gently alert the outside world that mini tyranny had a witness. I printed everything. Stapled. Folder got heavier. Good. That afternoon, my doorbell rang. Ring camera pinged my phone. Karen stood on my porch in a beige blazer, even though it was humid enough to steam broccoli. Visor perched like a crown. Clipboard under her arm. Yellow tape measure clipped to her belt. You could tell she enjoyed the weight of it. I opened the door half. Eli peeking from behind my leg. "Ms. Thompson," she said. Voice sugar with splinters. "We have rules. Structures must be approved. It's a pantry," I said. "Temporary. For neighbors." "Unsightly," she said. Scribbling. "Unapproved paint. It's robin's egg." Eli whispered. "It's in the sky." Karen ignored him. "Remove it by Friday, 5 p.m. or fines accrue. Variance pending review," I said. "Also, the covenant says you can't enforce inconsistently with city code." She sniffed. "This is private property governance. Common area is still subject to city rules," I said. And my hand shook a little, but my voice stayed steady. "Substitute teachers are trained in firm calm. Rules are rules," she said. "We don't want to invite an element." She let the last word hang like fog. "An element who needs baby formula," I said. She smiled. "Thin. Do the right thing." "The right thing," Eli echoed, thinking out loud. "So, leave it." Karen left without answering. The ring cam caught her phone held low as she snapped photos of our porch plants. Petunias. Radical. Receipts ladder. Step 1. The fines. The emails. The ring clip of Karen saying unsightly. The printed covenant line. Wednesday morning. The HOA app turned into a rumor factory. Post from K.W. Alarming unregulated food distribution near mailboxes. Safety hazard. Grainy photo of the pantry. Cropped tight, to exclude the part where Mrs. Allen was leaving spaghetti sauce with a smile. Comments trickled in. "I'm all for charity, but not here. We pay dues for order." Rodents. Then, the one that made my jaw clench. "People will come from outside." The word did a lot of work for 4 syllables. I made a choice. I wasn't going to let a whisper thread define us. I gathered receipts. Printed a 1-page info sheet, what the pantry was. How it worked. Our cleaning schedule. City ordinance on. Mutual aid I called. City Hall turns out. Non-permanent community sharing boxes aren't prohibited. Pastor Reeves signed it. I laminated it. I also printed a sanitation plan with bleach solution ratios written in big letters because someone was going to ask. Guaranteed. At noon. An envelope slid under my door. Notice of immediate removal. It said. With a quasi-legal header and a fake-looking seal you could tell was copied from somewhere else. It cited Section 14.9 Emergency Action. Which, yes, I checked, does not exist. I highlighted the non-existent section in the table of contents. I backstapled that page to the letter, out of pure petty. At 3 p.m. A white pickup rolled up. 2 men in polo shirts stepped out. The logo on their chests read, Community Care. Which? Ironic. They carried a pry bar and bolt cutters. You'd think we were storing contraband. Not Cheerios. Ma'am. The taller one said to me, already walking toward the pantry, "We gotta remove this structure. Gentlemen," I said, hitting record on my phone with my thumb. "This is a city allowed. Board variance requested." Active community pantry. You do not have authority. You are about to trespass. Orders from the president, he said, holding up the letter like a talisman. That's not a real section, I said, tapping the line. And this pantry is on the utility easement, not HOA property. The easement deed is in that box. I pointed to my open folder on the porch bench, where I'd placed the deed copy with the legal description of the strip by the mailbox. My voice got for a little teachery. Touch it, and you're liable for conversion and theft. They hesitated at liable. Then one of them noticed my ring cam watching, like a polite little cyclops. He mumbled, "Call me if she leaves," into his shoulder, and they retreated to the truck, where, no joke, Karen was hiding in the passenger seat, visor low, like a cartoon villain in a stakeout. The camera caught her pointing at the pantry and mouthing, "Now the driver." To his credit, shook his head. They drove off. Receipts ladder? Step 2, the fake emergency letter. The non-existent section. The easement deed. The ring footage of the attempted removal, and Karen in the truck. All printed, time-stamped, and slid into plastic sleeves. That night, the pantry was full. Someone had left diapers with a note that said, "For whoever needs." Someone else left a bag of fresh oranges. I restocked the rice. Eli tucked in a drawing of a bluebird. Thursday. The app exploded again, this time with a screenshot of me loading cans into the pantry. Posted by K.W. with the caption, "Staging outside donations, unknown sourcing." The comments went ugly around the edges. Who checks expiration dates? What if someone gets sick? Liability to homeowners. There's people who reach for fear like a familiar coat. So I posted too. Calm. Plain. We check expirations daily. We rotate stock. We clean. We are insured by our church for volunteer activities. See attached. And I attached the sanitation plan, the church's volunteer liability coverage letter, and a signed letter from the city liaison confirming no permit is needed for a non-permanent food-sharing box on a public utility easement. I CC'd the thread with the liaison's public email, so the paper had a spine. Karen commented, "That letter isn't binding." The liaison replied, "It's municipal policy." I screen capped that and printed it before it could mysteriously vanish. By afternoon, I got a DM. Anonymous handle. Burner vibe. Subject, "You didn't hear this from me." Inside screenshots of a board group chat. Karen delay her variance. Fine until she folds. Board, VP. "Can we call it a safety issue, Karen?" "Yes." Emergency letter. Another line. "My cousin Brent can dispose of it for $2,000. Then we reinstall a sanctioned box through his firm. Billing community improvement." The air in my kitchen got thin. I added the screenshots to the folder and then heart-thudding emailed legal aid. A woman named Tori wrote back fast. "Send everything," she said. "HOA abuse cases like this go sideways unless we stake the lines early. Also, do not move that pantry." "I won't," I wrote. "They gave me till Friday, 5 p.m. They love clocks," she replied. "We love statutes." Friday dawned hot and sour with tension. Karen, 2 board members, and the property manager formed a little army by the mailbox cluster at 9 a.m. Arms crossed. The property manager held a clip-on tie in his fist, like he might attach it if respect levels rose. I went to City Hall with Eli, because he insisted and because I needed something official shaped in my hand. The permitting office was quiet. Fans humming. I met with a zoning officer named Mr. Ellis. A black man in his 60s with a patient voice and kind eyes. Ms. Thatke. Thompson, he said after I laid out the story in, like, 2 minutes. The strip where your pantry sits is a public utility easement. The HOA maintains landscaping, but may not bar public access for mutual aid under our ordinance on small public sharing boxes. I'll put that in writing. And I'll come by with a sticker because some folks only speak sticker. He printed a letter on city letterhead. City recognizes and allows non-permanent charitable sharing boxes within public utility easements, subject to sanitation and obstruction guidelines. The little free pantry at Wren Court is in compliance. He signed it. Then, he pulled a blue sticker from a drawer, city approved, and grinned. Let's go decorate your box. At 1 p.m., the Macadon Rains, Mr. Ellis and the community liaison rolled up. He read the measurements, confirmed the pantry sat outside the HOA's parcel map, and pressed the blue sticker on the side panel. He took a photo with Eli, who, preened a little. The liaison placed a laminated card inside. In partnership with neighborhood volunteers, Karen walked up, smiled tight, voice pitched for an audience. That color is not in the palette. Municipal policy supersedes palette. Mr. Ellis said, writing it on a post-it like he was tutoring civics. Also, the blue's pretty. Then, he handed me a second envelope. This is for the board, he said. It outlines their limits here. It also warns them not to retaliate with fines while a variance or civic approval is pending. 10 days to respond. I made copies. Slid one under the HOA office door. Emailed PDF versions to the board. And taped a copy to the pantry back panel. Paper in sunlight. My favorite. At 4:59 p.m. Karen approached. Hair. Perfect. Binder clutched like a holy book. Remove it, she said. 5 p.m. Clock's wrong, I said. And also, see sticker. She looked at the blue, looked at Mr. Ellis's letter, and said, this has inspired me to call a special meeting. Great. I said, see you Monday. 7 p.m. Community Center. We didn't announce. You did now, I said. And my hands quit shaking. Saturday. The pantry got a name. A little girl. Maybe 7. Left a note written in purple marker bluebird box. Eli taped it inside the door. People came in a gentle trickle. A teenage boy left a jar of peanut butter. An elderly man took 1 can of soup and wiped his eyes like he'd sneezed. Mrs. Allen started bringing extra formula with coupons. Folks who'd never spoken to each other nodded in a quiet language. Not everyone was kind. Sunday morning. We found the door zip-tied shut. I cut it with kitchen shears. Save the tie in an evidence bag. I know. Dramatic. And cleaned the fingerprints off the glass. Because the point was feeding people, not catching perps. We posted a note, open daily. Please don't lock kindness. Eli drew a tiny unlocked padlock next to it. The app war escalated. A post accused me of soliciting on common property. Someone else said strangers are lingering. Then, a handle named K.W. used words like vagrancy. I typed. Deleted. Typed. Tori, from Legal Aid, called. As if she could feel my blood pressure through the data stream. Don't get dragged into comment combat, she said. Bring it to the room. Bring receipts. I printed more, the city letter. The email from the liaison. the sanitation plan, the burner screenshots about the cousin's firm. I also filed a public records request for any past complaints involving board members' relatives receiving HOA contracts. Turns out, you can ask for things, and sometimes the file clerk just shrugs and hands you a stack. Monday night. The community center smelled like folding chairs. People filed in carrying small dishes because in the South, even a fight shows up with food. A police officer stood by the wall, arms crossed for neutrality. The property manager sat near a laptop he didn't seem to know how to use. Karen took the podium like she'd practiced in the mirror all afternoon. The board lined up behind her in matching beige like they were a chorus. We gather to preserve property values. Karen began. Unregulated installations invite risk. This pantry, while well-intentioned, creates liability. She glanced at me on the second row as though I were a person-shaped lawsuit. We must maintain standards. Point of order, I said, walking to the mic. When she paused for breath, homeowner, comment period. She lifted a small gavel. The officer cleared his throat. She lowered the gavel. I took a breath like I do before explaining algebra to a room that's already tired. I want to show you what this actually is, I said, and what's actually been done. Slide 1 on the borrowed projector, the Bluebird box, in soft evening light. Stocked with rice, beans, and diapers. Murmurs rippled. People saw themselves in it. Slide 2, the red, removed by Friday, 5 p.m. Sticker. I held up the actual sticker on a plastic sheet protector. The glue dusted and harmless. This was delivered before any review. Slide 3, my email requesting a variance. Time-stamped and auto-replied. The covenant line about not enforcing inconsistently with municipal code. Highlighted. Paperwork first, I said. Teach that to 9th graders. Slide 4, the fake Section 14.9 emergency letter next to the actual table of contents. There is no Section 14.9. I let silence sit. The property manager coughed. Slide 5. The easement deed showing the strip by the mailbox is public utility easement. HOA maintains, but does not own it, I said. The city sets the rules here. Slide 6. Ring footage of the community care guys approaching with tools. And Karen visible in the truck, mouthing now. The room shifted from amused to tense. The officer watched closely. Slide 7. The city's letter from Mr. Ellis, affirming compliance. And the Blue City approved sticker photo. I held up the sticker's duplicate. He brought an extra for show. Municipal approval, I said. Not a suggestion. Slide 8 screenshots from the burner email. The chat, where Karen wrote, delay her variance. Fine until she folds. And the one where she suggested her cousin Brent could dispose of the pantry for a fee, then invoice the community to reinstall. I blurred any numbers that looked like phone or address, 'cause we ain't doxing. The room went from tense to hot. Karen tried to laugh it off. Out of context, banter, she said. We share ideas. Whose idea is forgery? Asked Mr. Patel from the back. He held up a printed copy of the fake emergency letter. You signed an authority that doesn't exist. Karen glanced at the officer. We issue many notices. Not that one, the officer said. Voice calm. Not anymore. Tori from Legal Aid stepped up next to me. Retaliation for a civic-approved mutual aid project violates both city policy and, potentially, state law, she said. Fining during a pending variance is improper. And steering contracts to relatives without a vote. That's a conflict. If you won't correct this, We will file. Mr. Ellis walked to the mic. 2. The pantry is compliant, he said. The city approves it. The color is, he smiled, delightful. Cynthia, the liaison, added. And for the record, kindness isn't a liability. Your insurer confirmed volunteer coverage in writing. Karen lifted her chin. We all support charity, she said. The word landing like it irritated her tongue, but not in a way that invites outsiders. Which neighbors are outsiders? Asked Mrs. Allen, her voice trembling in that way that makes people respect it more. The ones who can't afford formula. A murmur of agreement rolled. The room felt like a scale tipping. Karen tried to shore up the old weight. I propose a replacement, she said. A sanctioned, aesthetic box, installed by Coastal Curations LLC. She clicked to a slide showing a glossy white cabinet with a curved top and a brass plaque. Price, $4,500, plus monthly maintenance fee. Owner of Coastal Curations, I asked. Brent Whitaker. Tori answered. Not waiting. Her cousin, as per the state business registry. She held up a page with a highlighted line. Also, there's no RFP on record. No vote. The property manager went pale. The officer shifted. Even the board's usual chorus faces faltered. I move for a recall, said Mr. Patel. Bylaws allow it at any regular or special meeting with a quorum. We have one. Karen tried to hurry the agenda into executive session, which is HOA, for we need a minute to regroup. The officer looked at his watch. We can do this here, he said. Open. Ballots were printed on the spot. Tori came prepared. Not that I'm surprised, and volunteers counted at the front table. 2 from each side. Eli sat by Mrs. Allen, coloring a bluebird that looked, heroic. Before they read the tally, I spoke one more time because I wanted this part on the record. This pantry isn't just a box, I said. It's a yes to a neighbor at 2 a.m. It's formula at midnight. It's rice between paychecks. It's a way for my kid to think love is something you can touch. I held up the laminated sanitation plan and the city letter and the blue sticker, not because people needed more facts, but because the story of power sometimes falls apart under plain light. Recall passes, the volunteer announced. Effective immediately. Karen's mouth tightened into a line that said she'd rather chew gravel than lose. She gathered her binder, clicked her visor back onto her perfectly arranged hair, and walked out into the humid dark. For a second, I caught her eye. It wasn't victory I felt. It was relief. Aftermath wasn't just noise, it had teeth. The board, now chaired by Mr. Patel, a man who reads bylaws like bedtime stories, voted to adopt a mutual aid accommodation policy. It said any request related to food, disability, or community safety must be acknowledged within 10 days. Fine paused during review. Decisions grounded in city policy and law. Not vibes. The words, not vibes, wasn't in there. But the spirit was. They rescinded every fine on my account. In writing. With an apology. No. Not a real one from Karen. But the board's letter said, "We are sorry for the way this was handled." Which beats regret was felt that events transpired. They also issued a ban on emergency letters that cite non-existent sections. Novel. The property manager promised training. Then he quietly stepped down 2 months later. A new firm came in with a representative who wore normal shirts and didn't say curation like he was talking about a museum. The city's ethics office looked into the coastal curations thing. Turns out, Karen had authorized 3 beautification invoices to relatives in the last 2 years, planters. Signage. A vista enhancement that was basically a bush removal. Refunds came back $10,000 total, and, after some heated debate, the board voted to donate that sum to expand community mutual aid Bluebird boxes on 3 streets, a community fridge by the rec center, and a weekly produce stand voucher for low-income seniors. Karen called it encouraging dependency. The rest of us called it groceries. Karen, 2 things. First, the city issued a warning citation for unauthorized enforcement action, basically pretending a law existed. It wasn't handcuffs, but it was a line in the sand with her signature below it, acknowledging she'd do it again at her peril. Second, when Melissa, one of the community care guys, came forward, yeah, Melissa, she wore the polo but she's a she. She testified that Karen had told them to wait until I left and make it disappear. That's the phrase she used. The officer wrote it down. The board barred Karen from serving for 5 years. She called it a witch trial. I called my mother and cried into the phone while Eli built a tower of soup cans. We held a Bluebird Day the next Saturday. Pastor Reeves blessed the boxes like he blesses babies. People brought cereal and hugs. Mr. Ellis stuck a second blue sticker on the side because he liked how it looked. The fridge at the rec center hummed to life, and within an hour there were eggs, milk, apples, and a stack of index cards with notes like, "Take what you need. Maybe leave recipe ideas." I kept my receipts organized even after the fight because fights have aftershocks. Every 30 to 45 seconds of this story, I could hand you a piece of paper that mattered. The original red sticker, preserved. Dumb little square of plastic that tried to matter more than people. The covenant page with the municipal consistency clause underlined in green. It lives in a sheet protector, like a museum piece. The fake emergency letter with the not real section. Annotated. I wrote nope in the margin in big letters the day I realized what it was. The easement deed with metes and bounds that sound like poetry if you don't know what they mean. Thence north to the oak. It's a map that tells you who really owns the space where kindness sits. The ring cam still, of Karen, mouthing now in the truck. Eli asked if we could make it into a sticker. I said, "We're not bullies," he said. Not even a tiny sticker. We made a tiny sticker for the inside of the pantry door where only we can see. The church liability letter. The sanitation plan with bleach ratios, 1 tablespoon per 1 gallon. Initialed by volunteers like a dance card from a ball where the partners are care and caution. The city letter and the blue sticker. I count them as 2 because they are 2 different kinds of yes words and a visible sign. The burner screenshots. Printed with phone numbers and addresses blurred because we are not that kind of neighbor. The recall tally sheet with a coffee ring in the corner because Mrs. Allen set her cup down when she clapped. The new policy page titled Mutual Aid Accommodation. The first line says, "We begin with yes and figure out how." Tori wrote that line. Mr. Patel kept it. Karen would have cut it. Life slid back toward ordinary. But it was a better ordinary. Eli started counting thank yous in the pantry logbook. He writes each one down, even if it's just a smile. Little hash marks, like fence posts. The count grows. He learned that when he gets overwhelmed, organizing shelves calms him. He alphabetizes soups. He lines up pasta by color. He tapes a tiny bluebird on every baby formula can because babies can't read, but grown-ups can. And they'll smile. Neighbors whose names I barely knew started appearing in my phone as favorites. Mrs. Allen texts me when someone leaves a bag of onions in the heat so I can move them to the fridge. A teenager named Jay helps stock after school. Head down, earbuds in. But he peeks up when a dad says thank you in a voice that cracks. A man who once glared at me for planting non-approved flowers sat on the curb and told me, staring at his shoes, that he eats better on weeks when the pantry's full. I handed him oatmeal and dignity without making a speech. We put up a whiteboard. What do you need this week? People wrote soap, toothpaste, gluten-free pasta, canned chicken, pads, baby wipes. Someone wrote hope, then crossed it out and wrote granola bars. Which, yeah, one night, I found a folded note. I took 2 cans. I'll leave 2 when I can. It was signed with a heart. I cried into my sleeve right there under the streetlight. Karen still lives here. She walks her little dog with a bow in its hair and avoids the pantry like it's radioactive. Once, we made accidental eye contact. I opened my mouth and then closed it because the thing I was gonna say would have been petty. Growth sometimes looks like shutting up. I wish I could say everyone learned the same lesson. But that ain't how people work. A few folks still grumble that the pantry changes the vibe. But more folks show up with boxes. The HOA newsletter started including a Bluebird Needs column. The clip art seagull got a friend in the margins, a tiny bluebird, someone added, when Karen left the editor role. The new property manager sends me email reminders like, don't forget to rotate stock. I reply with a photo of Eli happily doing it. He replies with a thumbs up emoji and a note. City inspector says hi. The part that surprises me most. The pantry made other fights winnable. When Mrs. Nguyen asked for a ramp for her mother, the board said yes in 3 days. When Mr. Ortiz wanted a community compost bin, they didn't panic that a worm might lower someone's home value. When a trans kid asked if they could plant a little pride corner in the community garden, the board said, tell us what you need. That's not magic. That's policy. Receipts. And the memory of a meeting where power flipped because a box of beans told the truth out loud. On my fridge, amid Eli's art and a to-do list that never stops, there's a photo from Bluebird Day. Mr. Ellis is pressing the blue sticker while Eli grins up like the sun got closer. Behind them, a bunch of neighbors I used to pass without seeing are holding canned peaches like trophies. Pastor Reeves is off to the side, blessing the fridge with a hand on its humming side like it's a congregant. If you zoom in, you can see a woman in sunglasses standing far back with her arms folded. She's not smiling, but she's there. It's a start. Every time someone asks me, how did you win? I want to say we didn't win so much as we outlasted a clock with paper, community, and a refusal to let a rule pretend it's a law. But that's a mouthful. So I tell them what I tell Eli. We put kindness where everyone could see it, and then kept it there long enough that the rules had to learn its shape. The pantry door sticks in summer. Eli, with his skinny elbow, pops it open. He tucks a box of mac and cheese behind the pasta because he likes surprises. I write 1 tablespoon per 1 gallon on the cleaning spray bottle because somebody might need the reminder when I'm tired. A young mom comes at dusk, baby on her hip, and takes 2 cans of tomatoes. Her face soft with relief. A man I've never seen leaves a bag of apples without looking around like he's ashamed to be kind. The street lights blink on. The Bluebird decal catches a bit of glow. I still keep the folder by the door. I still print things. I still believe in receipts. But most nights, I sit on the curb with Eli. The bluebird box behind us, like a tiny lighthouse. And we count the thank yous in the logbook till the mosquitoes tell us to go inside. The box hums with small good. My kid leans into my shoulder and says, "We did a big thing." "Right," I say. "Yeah, buddy." Then he corrects me. 'Cause he's literal. We did a many little things. He's right. So, what would you do here? Would you fold for a red sticker, or would you print, host, and plant your yes in the ground, and make the rules? Learn it like we did. In the blue light. Before Friday, 5 p.m. With the clock finally on our side.